Hello everyone, welcome once again to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston Subdivision, an N-scale inspired HO layout. My name is Daryl Kruse, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for episode 19 of season 2021. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas yesterday and hopefully a great new year coming up. And welcome to the update for this week, which is 20 additional feet of mainline. I added the bench work and track work for the area around the Holcim Cement installation, as we see a couple of SD40Ns pulling a train. Before we get to that, though, just a quick commercial about my N-scale stuff that I'm selling. I haven't said too much about it in the last few videos, so I just want to say something again. I am having an after Christmas sale, so if you didn't get your N-scale supplies for Christmas, check out my website. I'm having a 15% off everything sale. I'm going to add a few things. I may have some of them discounted even a little bit further. I want to really kind of get them moving. So if you get a chance, go to my website. It's in the description and post it on the screen. All right, back to the layout. I did a lot this week. I kind of almost amazed myself on the amount that I got done. I didn't have any interruptions throughout the week except for Christmas, which was wonderful. But that was just Christmas Eve with our family. The other days, I really spent every day 8 hours down in the layout room. And here you can see the Girder benchwork that went up. This is the Holcim Cement area just east of Devil's Slide, and you can see the track coming from the previous benchwork. And then moving along to the new benchwork here. This wall is 20 feet long, actually just a little shy of 20 feet. And the first thing I did was, of course, put in the Girder benchwork and some support legs. Did the wall and finishing out the wall a couple weeks ago. There you can see the benchwork that I had done up to this point. And now this last week I worked on extending the benchwork even further. After putting the Girder benchwork down, I then followed up with some joist. Started out with some 1x3s here and then moved up to some 1x4s. I did increase the height of this piece of benchwork another 2 inches. So you can see when I raised it 2 inches, I went down to the 1x3s, and then about 3/4 of the way through I switched over to the 1x4s. So I kind of do the same thing when I move to the next section. We're up to 51 inches. Actually, it's over that, about 52 almost at the end of this benchwork. And the layout started out at 45, so there's been a good 6-7 inches added in height. And so I've been kind of increasing the height of the benchwork also as I go along. The joists are screwed to the Girders with screws underneath. Then once that was in, I then added the road bed. And I used 2 levels. One to check the level for the incline, and then one to check the level from side to side. I screw the risers into the road bed, and then once it's screwed in there, then I clamp it to the joist and then secure it with glue. I do not use glue to screw the risers to the joist. Tends to move it up and down just a little bit. Now you can see I have it at 0% grade here. This is where the control point is going to be, so I wanted that to be level. Here's some prototype pictures of the Holcim Cement. You can see they're digging into the mountainside there, and quite a few facilities and buildings and so forth. The Weber River, of course, goes through there. And then some interesting bridges. You have the bridge for the main line, and then this bridge, the wood trestle one for the industrial spur. Some cool trucks going through there to haul rock back and forth. That's the main line bridge there. And then you have the wooden trestle for the spur. The mainline bridge has a through girder bridge, and then a couple of approach plate girder bridges. Here you can see a satellite photograph of the area, and it's pretty complicated as far as getting the benchwork done to depict this. There's 3 levels. There's the track level, there's the road level, and then the river level. And I wanted to get everything laid out as perfectly as possible. I figured out the bridges, the 3 bridges, would be 34 to 35 inches. So here's where the bridge is going to go. So almost 3 feet. So you can see I don't have any support joists there. And here's how I figured out where everything goes. So I'm here figuring out where the river goes. It doesn't go right in the middle of the bridges. So I use the measuring tool to measure on the satellite photo the distance from the abutment to the river, and then did some calculations and figured out, you know, where exactly it's supposed to be on the layout. So here's an example. The distance from the river to the abutment was 106.71 feet. So I put that in the calculator, take it times 12 to get inches, and then divide by 87, which is the scale for HO, and you get 14.71862 on and on, which I rounded out to 14 and 3/4 inches. So I just used a piece of wood and kind of drew the diagram. That leaves 8 3/8 inch width for the river itself, and I kind of figured out the angle also. So then I went to the layout and figured out, okay, exactly where the river was to go. I figured out the angle, and I figured out where it was supposed to be in relation to where the abutments are going to go. I just have a block of wood there to hold up the roadbed, because it's going to be a while before I actually put the bridges in. And I did that for all of the area around there, and we'll see a picture of it all together here in just a bit. Here's where the main line ended. As you can see, I put some road bed down. That's the flex bed by Hobby Innovations. Not too crazy about that corner there. Gonna figure out a way to round that off a little bit. But I added the road bed. You see I have the switches kind of in place there. And then you can see how the benchwork came out for the river and the road and the main line. So there are 3 different levels. You have the bridge level, the river level, the road level, and then the main line level. So I did a lot of calculations. I want to make sure that the distance between the road and the bridge was 13 feet 9 inches. How do I know it's 13 9 inches? It says it on the prototype bridge. That's the clearance. And then here's the road that's going to lead to the Holcim Cement. So I had to figure out how that all was going to go also and fit all together. It took me quite a while to do all the measuring. Spent a lot of time on Google Maps figuring everything out. But it should make for a pretty interesting scene. And this is one reason why Girder works out great for a model railroad. You really get the 3-dimensional aspect of the layout. A lot of people just put the tracks on flat plywood and then build the scenery up from there. You don't really get the 3-dimensional effect without doing something like the Girders here, and then the risers and so on. So I got everything pretty much into position here. I changed the track work a little bit. There's going to be a siding here. So here we have a number 8 switch that's going to have a siding there to the left. And then from that siding, there's going to be a track that's going to go across to the Holcim Cement area. So it's going to go from here. There's the other track, or switch, that's going to complete the crossing. And so the industrial spur is going to come like this and go across the river and the road and over to the Holcim Cement. So that's going to be the wood trestle bridge. So that's going to be cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that turns out. All right, so this is where we are at this point. You can see how it all kind of fits together. I put in the fascia too, as you can see. So things are looking pretty good, especially when you get the skirting in and the ceiling all painted. I'm going to paint the floor, I think, eventually, and then figure out maybe some type of cushiony material for the floor. And then I also did some work on the bridge here. I actually wired it all up and cut the tracks so you can see how it all works. I have to say this is pretty ingenious. It works absolutely wonderfully. So it folds down, and I can now do whatever I need to do on the electrical panel, and then when I'm done, I just put it back up and the tracks just line up automatically. So I think that's pretty cool. And then when I latch it again, and it's resting, it's pretty well level. Now it'll be even better once I get it all ballast. The ballast will hold or kind of lock everything in place. So works great. I'm really happy the way that turned out. All right, now installing switches. As you can see, I drilled some holes in the roadbed to allow room for the switch motors to turn the turnouts. Did things a little bit differently here. I decided I would cut the foam out first, then drill the hole. That definitely makes it a lot better than drilling through the foam. But I got everything lined up and the holes drilled for all of them. And then I got the ties glued onto paper and put them into position and went ahead and laid the track down. Now I actually ran out of spikes, so I did not put in the other number 8 switch for the siding. So I got the turnouts in there for the control point for the crossovers, the one number 8 switch for the industrial siding, and then there's going to be another one just a little bit down the ways here for the other side of the turnout for the other side of the siding. And then this is not tacked down at all. Like I said, I ran out of spikes, so those tracks there at the end are just sitting on the roadbed. I'll have to get some more spikes and then get that fastened down a little bit more permanently. So this is pretty much how it looks now with roadbed up to that point. Now, of course, got to see some trains running on it, so we'll go ahead and fire up a train. Start up the engines. This will be a couple of SD70 ACEs, and we'll have a pull a manifest train. These are a couple of Atherns, SD70 ACEs. I have, so far, if you include the staging yards, I have 110 feet of main line completed. Now the total main line for the lower level, including the staging yards, is 290 feet. So I have 110 done, so I'm over 2/3 of the way through the lower level. And I did that in 4 months. So I should have the lower level completely done. I'm hoping in about 6 months or so, maybe by June. Hopefully a little sooner. It took me a long time to do the staging yard. I was blowing the horn. No road to speak of here that it needs to do that for, but it's doing it anyway. Get a good idea, or get a good chance to see the detail here on the Ather and Genesis models of the SD70 ACEs. Was tempted to get the new Ather C44-9 Ws, but elected not to get them because UP just doesn't have very many of them. I think they have like maybe 80 or so, which seems like a lot of locomotives, but they have, you know, like 2,000 locomotives, so 80 is not very many. So I opted not to get any of those. So here it's pulling through Morgan. That was the first part of the main line that I did a while back. Morgan includes 2 overpasses. There's one of them. There was one a little bit previous to this. So those going to be 2 roads going under the main line. One thing I noticed about the Evanston subdivision that I'm modeling is that there's not a lot of grade crossings. So I definitely want to include some grade crossings somewhere along the line. There aren't any grade crossings of the main line that I've built so far. So I've done 110 feet of main line and 0 grade crossings. So I think when I do the next section, I'll make sure that there's some kind of a crossing. With the sound locomotives, you gotta have a chance to blow the horn. So this is a mix of different types of cars that manifest trains. And one thing I noticed about trains nowadays is that you don't have unit trains very much anymore. So you have double stacks with Tofsy cars with covered hoppers and tank cars. They just throw everything together, make the train as long as possible, and then run them without stopping, hopefully. You can kind of see the length of the trains we're going to be running. This train, I believe, is like 31 cars in length, and I'm hoping to get the length of the cars. You see some length of the trains up to 40 or so. Saw some of the detail on Athern tank cars. And here we're going back up to the Taggart Mountain. Taggart Tunnel area. So here we'll be coming out of the Taggart tunnels and going across the Weber River. It's meeting another train. As we extend the main line further and further, we'll be able to have train meets further down the line here. It's going to be interesting trying to videotape around that pole there. But it is what it is. All right, here we're coming on to the new main line area. And this will be a control point. double crossovers. Been able to incorporate some nice sweeping curves on the layout so far, which is one of the main things I wanted to carry over from N-Scale. Is having some nice sweeping prototypical curves. All right, now we're going across the Weber River again. This is a new one. This will be another couple of sets of bridges. This is actually a longer crossing than the one by the Taggart tunnels. All right, coming towards the end of the line. So here's where we are at this point. This is the end of the line. 110 feet of main line, including the staging yard. So far, so good. This is going to be awesome right there when we get the scenery going on it. So that's all been completed just in the last week. And there's the whole length that we have completed so far. Hey, we are going to do some signaling this coming week. That's one of the things I want to try and get done. That signal board will control the control point right there by the staging yard, and will also control the control point over there by the Holcim Cement area. We'll also do a couple on the upper level at some point in time. And this is the next area I'm going to be finishing out to extend the benchwork even further. Here's some signals I'm going to be posting here before too long. And I do have some vehicles left. You N-scalers out there, don't miss out on your chance to get in some N-scale stuff on my website. And then there's the rest of the basement that needs to be finished out. And so this is kind of where things stand. Thanks so much for watching. There will be another video here midweek sometime, and then that will be it for season 2021. And then we'll be doing season 2022, which will be filled with lots of advancements on the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston Subdivision. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great week, everyone. Happy New Year, and of course, Merry Christmas.